Guys, what's up? It's John, Gamester81. I'm here at Game Talk with my good friend Jeffrey. Jeff, what's up, brother?
Oh, it's going madness, and it's been too long since we've talked.
Right on. So this episode, we want to talk about the best way to play retro games. So Jeff, what are the best ways that you play retro games? Like, what do you clone console? Do you do Raspberry Pis? What do you tend to do?
So when I play retro games, it's an interesting perspective, which is why this is a really good Game Talk, because I play a multitude of ways when I do my gaming. I have, right to my left right now, I have my CRT sitting over here, and I have a bunch of retro systems hooked up to it. However, being the modern gamer and having a lot of HD TVs in my house, I like to play classic consoles the optimal way with HDMI. And I feel like there's not one solution to play it optimally. Now, Obviously, in the comments, we're going to have the ease of use the Raspberry Pi. That's what everybody's going to say. Use your Pi. Use your Odroid, because I definitely saw that video. That was rad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Like, you made me want to add that to my Amazon cart.
The thing is a beast. And for those who don't know what the Odroid is, real quick, in case you guys didn't see the video.
It's
God. Like, first off, watch the video. But it's like Android.
What's that? The dev of the Odroid on there. It was super cool.
I did. Well, I did the build. Yeah, Retro Arena. Just not to go off topic here, but
this is awesome
topic,
build.
Yeah. It's amazing. And played games like, dude, I had no idea that Super Mario Brothers was ported to the X1, Sharp X1.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that part of the video.
I'm tracking very much the Hudson version where it scrolls screen by screen. Now I didn't realize how terrible it scrolled.
It's like Zelda scrolling.
It's
It's like the original Zelda screen. Like, take that and mix it with Mario. It's bad, and like the control's bad.
I've never seen it accurately emulated like it does in the Odroid, so it's really bad when it's accurately emulated. I've seen it
you can hear the hum on the screen, like the monitor hum, which I think is really cool. So
freaking crazy, because
but yeah, no, definitely, Android is definitely Odroid is, Raspberry Pi rather and Odroid are definitely a way to play retro games. It's convenient, and I like them because you can play games you normally wouldn't have an opportunity to play.
Well, it's the easiness aspect, and there was one that I was recommended on a website, and it's the Nvidia Shield TV, and that I got on a Black Friday deal, and it was supposed to be the optimal way to play Saturn and to play PlayStation 1. And I play all of that with no lag now, and it's awesome. All perfect. However, I wonder how the Odroid does in that, because it looked like it did pretty well, and it's a slick interface, because the Nvidia Shield TV is not super slick yet, because I haven't set it up. You know what I mean?
The one downfall about the Odroid, to be honest, at least the one I have, because my buddy Kirk hooked me up. Like, I've got over 100. Guess how many games I have on that thing?
Couple thousand, or are you gonna say 100,000 this year?
128,000
plus.
Oh
my God. Like that.
It's like terabytes. So it takes seriously literally 7 minutes for it to load up.
Oh,
it's got, so. But anyway,
because 120, that means you have la-di-da-di everything, right? La-di-da-di
every game you can think of, for MAME to Game Boy to everything. Game & Watch.
Yeah, that's the one thing I do like about the Raspberry Pi, and previously Xbox Coin Ops, which was the predecessor with XMBC and everything on the original Xbox, which I do have hooked up to my CRT that I'm pointing at off to the side of this camera that nobody can see.
I see it. Is that right to your left, to your right arm? Is that
it's right over here.
Oh, the other TV. Okay.
It's right over here.
Got it.
Like looking at it right now. Anyways, the thing is the ease of use is that those images that you download from all of those communities. The cool thing about it is it comes preloaded, and it's pretty much every known excellent game is on there. You know what I mean? So that's the really cool aspect of everything. But
right.
But it won't have everything, and being someone who likes to find new experiences on systems, I kind of got to play it all. And so I know that Raspberry Pi, the Xbox Coin Ops, they all have you press in right thumbstick or hit the right thumbstick, and it does a randomizer. Does that Is that a thing on the Odroid?
A randomizer to like select a random game?
So like you put
What do you
like
mean?
every game in the whole entire list on
Okay.
for your system, and like on my Pi or my coin op, and I flip it, and then it goes to a random game out of my
Ah,
entire library. So that way, when you have
I haven't tried that.
128,000 games,
Right.
there's a problem with having too many games sometimes, and you don't know what to
Yeah.
pick.
That is true. So
Yeah.
I kind of find myself wanting to play. Like last night, I played N64, and actually, I played it on the original N64 console.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends. Look, I'm a purist. I just prefer playing the original hardware if I can. I usually use the Odroid or my Raspberry Pi because I have both when I want to play games that I normally wouldn't be able to play.
Yeah.
Right. But I find that because I was playing on the TV behind me, the N64 because it has an AV out,
You sound
and it
like
just
look
doesn't.
like I'm in your
Right.
room.
It doesn't look good on modern TVs, right? Let's face it. When you play it, hook up AV, it looks
So
blurry.
you,
It just
you
doesn't
just
look
created like the perfect transition.
right. Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. So in that case, a CRT obviously to play retro games, that's kind of ideal. Like I find the best monitor to play is a Commodore 64 monitor for any retro game. Is that it right there? Boom, there it is.
You're sitting there in my.
So awesome. I don't own one. I really want one, but
Oh,
I've
it's excellent.
grown up with one as a kid, and my friends have them. I know how well and how sharp they look. They look really good.
So that is my second favorite for like retro gaming on a CRT. That's my second favorite. Actually, off screen, which you can't see in the camera shot, but I actually have a PVM, professional video monitor.
Okay.
I
Yep.
have it's a Intravision Trinitron, and it was one of
Yeah.
those that
Yeah.
was used in TV studios for a monitor. I don't have an actual like the SCART XRGB, the really really crazy expensive one, but mine is still like the classic console experience
Hmm.
more so because it's not like super overly clear. Which I know
Right.
some gamers and probably some people in the comments really love the clarity.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just like playing stuff like a classic way.
Yeah. Me too. I agree.
And for like
Yeah.
a CRT, and of course, with to the left of that, I have another CRT over here, and I have two sitting here. I made a custom shelving
Yeah.
unit
Yeah.
with a Nintendo logo that I put on it. I painted it black and red. And it's like
Yeah.
4x12s, like giant heavy wood.
Yeah.
But the other TV is a Sharp NES TV. So to
Mhm.
play the NES, I have my Sharp NES TV, which
Right.
is literally the Nintendo console built into the television, and it's a direct feed connection.
That's awesome. My buddy Scott, he has a TV. I forget who made it, but it was designed for the original Xbox, and actually
Nice.
has an Xbox brand on it. So it's got the connections, like the weird connections that the original Xbox had.
Yeah.
It actually has that back connection, so you can actually hook up that console to that TV, and it looks really good. Like you play Halo really well, which I didn't even know that they had this TV, which is cool. But it's heavy as I'll get out. That's the thing about these CRTs is they're super
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
And here in Phoenix, like all the Goodwill stopped selling CRTs years ago.
I think that's almost nationwide in the United
Right.
States right now.
I literally, like about a month ago, I was on was it Facebook Marketplace. I was trying to look for a CRT. It was a 20-inch. Really, I like them kind of small because they're kind of light, fairly light. I literally drove to Tucson like an hour and 20 minutes just to pick up a TV because you can't find them anywhere in the valley. People got rid of them, and But what's really cool, my buddy Hal, who runs Retro World Series, shout out to him. He's helped with Game on Expo. He's a good guy. Do you know Hal? Super cool dude.
Of course.
Yeah.
I've known Hal for years. And
Yeah.
the Retro World Series, for those of you that don't know,
Yeah.
is retro gaming tournaments for multiple different ones. I did commentary for his final stage, his first ever final stage in Houston, and I was doing commentary for Super Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Like he does super cool obscure
Yeah.
games, not your typical tournaments.
The reason I bring up him is because he's got these matching CRTs. I don't know where he finds these things.
Yeah,
But
awesome.
I was having California, about last month. I was talking. We went to dinner, and he's like, "John, how cool would it be to like bring back CRTs in production? Like, is there a market?" My question is there a market for it? It'd be a very niche market, but I think there are people who would buy CRTs to play retro games because it just looks so much better on a CRT. Anyway,
Well, and the thing is that like as for viability of that, it would be niche.
It'd be
He would
very
have to
niche, yeah.
figure out a way to make it affordably. Like if he can make it cheaply, so that we
Right.
could sell them and mass produce them, that'd be the only way.
Right. Right.
The reason why I think that some of the games look better, and I would say up to the 32, 64-bit, is because games were programmed with the inherent properties of the CRT built in. It's why they have scanline generators on
That's right.
HD HD converters and everything. Is because the games were programmed with that in mind, so it actually gives a little more definition to some backgrounds in certain cases.
Right.
It's not everything, but sometimes. And even the 64 and the PS1 look better with a CRT sometimes because it gets rid of some of the blur, whereas when you put it on HD, you see every graphical nuance, which gets annoying. But when you play it on a CRT, it's actually more enjoyable for me.
Well, that's exactly why the PlayStation 1 Classic is shit to me. Pardon my friend. I mean, like, seriously, like, how do they not add scanline? How do they not add scan lines to the thing, right? I mean, I know you can go up. There's a way you can, hook up a keyboard and add scan lines, which is it's in there. That's not an option.
You see this right here? This thing.
Right.
This is like a 8-bit like wireless receiver. Apparently, they created one for the PlayStation Classic where you plug it in and it actually enables that boot mode with like
debug,
and it does it with like a button press. So all you do is you plug this sucker in to the USB just like you do, and it still does the wireless. Yeah. And then on top of it, it does the debug on the PlayStation Classic, which I still have not bought, by the way.
I was playing it like a couple weeks ago, but just some of the games, like I was playing Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. And what's the other one I was playing? And it just doesn't look great on an HD TV. It just doesn't look good. I know it's like supposedly upscaled to 720, whatever, but it just didn't look good. Didn't look good at all. So for me, like the best way to play a retro console is through the actual system. Although I will say FPGA. I don't know if you have any FPGA consoles. What Analog has done, other consoles have done. It's not really emulated. It's actually playing the actual carts, right? It's not dumping the ROM like the like the Hyperkin Retron 5 will do, right? It actually reads it off the cart. That's pretty cool technology.
And FPGA, which actually another good transition, but FPGA it's programmed to emulate a console flawlessly. And so like the perfect example is the best way to play Nintendo on an HD TV is through an AVS by Retro USB. That is the best way I've found with perfect no lag gaming. And it is simply an FPGA that's programmed into the NES. And the thing is that like Bunny Boy from Retro USB, the guy who created it, is like an expert at the Nintendo, and he sat there and tinkered with every single game till they all played flawlessly and worked out every single little bug and every little nuance because he's obsessed with the Nintendo. And that's what we're getting from a lot of these systems, which includes the ColecoVision Phoenix does something similar, correct?
That's right. Yeah, and it is. And we'll play ColecoVision games.
So there's the shameless plug of the night. I love it. But why not? Because
what's cool about FPGA
Phoenix is doing some really cool stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, man. We just ordered the shells, so now the shell, that's a huge expense. Getting that molding done.
And I saw the 3D printed molds that John was bringing. He brought it to Portland with the programmer. And these shells look like professionally done, like an Xbox One slickness to it. It's crazy.
So yeah, it was last week. It was kind of a pain in the ass. I had to go to my bank and do an international wire transfer to China. Anyway, try and get the final payments for these boards and things like that. But no, super stoked about how that's going. And what's cool about FPGA in general, not just the Phoenix, but just in general with what you said, the AVS, and then I have right here behind me. This is the Analog NT. Really cool console. Kind of very expensive though. Super expensive. But that will play in 1080p, which is amazing, and the games look awesome on it. But again, you need like $500 to buy one, which is it's like the Mercedes of retro consoles,
Mercedes.
Right?
Well, the irony is that the version of the AVS that I got was the limited edition clear one, which there's only a few that exist, and it came, and I have a wooden box that's over in my collector that it came in this giant wooden crate.
Right.
And like I think it was whatever the chipset is for the Nintendo, that was the cost. It was expensive.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
$400 or $500. It was
Yeah.
stupidly expensive, but I was like, I was supporting them from the ground up with that.
Yeah.
But it was a stupid buy or don't buy situation.
Let's go with I mean, this is like limited edition too. I mean, this is aluminum. I guess I would say aluminium.
For sure.
Other parts of the world.
Aluminium.
Aluminium. They had the extra silver. Or I guess we take the extra silver out. But anyway, yeah, no. So really cool console. And what's really cool about this is, and this is just like I was saying before with FPGA, is you can add other drives to it, like other cores, right? So you can do there's a core for Game Gear, for example. There's a core for Game Boy. So I can't play those carts off through this, but I can. There's an SD card slot, and the Phoenix has the same thing. We're added. So we just announced with the CollectorVision Phoenix, you can play, for example. We just announced classic arcade games from the 80s, like Pac-Man and Donkey Kong.
Yeah. So previously you talked about Atari 2600.
Yeah, 2600.
Now when you're talking these classic arcade games, it's probably more of the 80s style.
Early 80s, right. Like
cool. That's cool, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
ColecoVision anyways.
Yeah, it's cool.
So
also,
sense.
well, MSX is actually very, not like people know this, but the MSX hardware is very similar to the ColecoVision.
My
hardware.
MSX is like sitting right down here. I'm not sure if it's on camera. I have an MSX2 sitting down there.
Fairly certain that at some point it's going to be available to play MSX games, but it's all open source, right? So we're going to keep it open source, so people, once it comes out, people can add to it.
I think it was pretty much like I was given a head nod at MSX1 games, which is about the similar graphical style as Coleco, which MSX2
you're right.
is like NES like style graphics where you have like your Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 and things, whereas MSX1 is more like your ColecoVision, which has some awesome graphics. Right. It's still a fun classic system. Nobody played because it was only in Japan.
Thank you for clarifying for sure. But yeah, so anyway, MSX1 games. Thank you. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great ways to play. I think bottom line for me personally, CRT old school retro games. But if I'm playing on HDTV, FPGA would be my first preference. If that's not available, then I'll go to like Raspberry Pi.
You mentioned the analog NT. Have you played the Super NT? Because I still haven't pulled the trigger on one, but I think that's my go-to.
I got it right here behind me. Right here. Boom. Super Nintendo.
Really?
And this was less expensive because it's out of plastic. It's not like, with the analog NT, they did like a gold one, which is like gold plated and super, super expensive. But
I'm good.
Now I know they also announced like the Mega NT, I think the Genesis version, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is also now that the Super NT is like on my to collect list for HD. I think that one will be the Sega Genesis version, the Mega Drive version that I need to get.
Personally, FPGA is the way to go. I'm not. I mean, these clone consoles are okay. I got a ton of clone consoles, and they do okay. But what's cool about FPGA is you can add scan lines in many cases. You can do a lot of cool things with them. It's just really cool technology, and so.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Now on the flip side, we're talking FPGA. Mm-hmm. What do you think of these new chords and things that like Castlemania and Retrobit are releasing, where there's these like adapters, like they have one for the Xbox, they released one for the
Dreamcast,
Super Nintendo,
someone for the Hyperkin released one for the Dreamcast, I believe I have, and
I heard that the Super Nintendo inherently works for the 64 and like miraculously looks amazing too for the Nintendo 64. These cables though, and I haven't bought one yet.
So I have the only one I own,
awesome.
And the only one I can really speak to because I own it is the one for the Dreamcast, right? And it doesn't scale up to 720. It's like 500 something, 580p, which is still like pretty decent and pretty darn good.
Well, do they do that though? Not because it's not capable of it, but because of the 1-to-1 graphical resolution. And some stuff that I see on some like YouTube channels, like My Life in Gaming and things, where it's like maybe it's because if you do it to 720, it'll do some weird distortion. Distortion, of course. No, it'll distort the pixels to where you'll have some like waviness when you get some fancy movement.
That could be why. I don't know the reasoning. But don't get me wrong, it still looks a lot better than if you were to play it through AV. The sound is a little bit more quiet, I felt. Not much.
Really?
But it was a lot more crisp, but it was also a little bit more quiet. So least that was my experience with the Dreamcast one. I can't speak to like the other ones, but I know Mel Juice has done some videos on some of those as well. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's another way to upgrade and keep your original hardware and play it on a modern platform. I think it's really cool, or a modern TV.
Now, one other contraption, and I actually got this at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Let me see if I can pull this thing on the camera. This little sucker right here.
Okay.
This little square box, and this is called a RetroTink 2X. You plug anything into AV, or you got your composite, and you have some S-video, and you plug in a little small HDMI cable.
Okay.
And so it upscales everything that is older than, I want to say, the Xbox generation. And it'll upscale it with no lag on your TV. You can apply scaling by pressing a little button on here.
Wow.
And
how much was that?
So you can add... this was, I think, $80.
Okay.
I got it from Castlemania again.
Cool.
Castlemania has been interesting because they kind of popped out of nowhere. And they have a lot of cool, unique gadgets. So I think they kind of like collected a bunch of cool stuff that people have been putting out on random websites, which I respect because it's hard to hunt down onesies and twosies, like finding what a RetroTink is. It was out of stock for like a year. They started stocking it, and now you can get one. Like, pretty cool thing. And I mean, not to mention my own shameless plug, they do carry my books on their site now. This guy's really cool.
This episode of Game Talk brought to you by Castlemania Games.
Brought to you by CollectorVision Games. Always. The CollectorVision Phoenix.
Congratulations on the book, by the way. I got it in the mail.
Oh, which one was that? The hidden game?
Yeah. Congrats, man. Looks great.
Nice I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, which is super cool. And my whole thing with that is if one person enjoys what I'm doing, I'm gonna keep doing it. It's fun for me.
Absolutely.
I do it on the side as a hobby.
Absolutely.
So
cool.
Super cool.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add on this topic?
Well, I think with just like the best way to play retro consoles, it all depends on what you as a gamer want to get out of things. So if you're all in it about seeing the best graphical fidelity, you're gonna have to work on frame meisters and getting all the crazy different hardware to make it work right. If you just want to play the experience, I mean, CRT is the way to go if you can find a CRT.
Yeah.
However, for me,
not break your back.
Just have to have
getting one.
Yeah, not break your back, which you guys say small.
Yeah.
But like for me, I want the controls to be right. I want it to work well because I've set world records on Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, so like I know that too well. But when I play some of the newer games, I don't have that world record holder needed to be perfect. Sure. Or if I'm playing an RPG, it doesn't matter unless you're playing Mario RPG that requires timing.
Right.
So like to me, it depends on the console. The older consoles, I want fidelity with gameplay. And then with newer consoles, I want graphical fidelity.
Right.
So that's my own personal thing. But it all depends on what you want and what your budget is.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
Yeah, so, I mean, in all reality, though, I think we've kind of sowed the seeds for a lot of different types of ways that gamers can go. And if anybody has any recommendations or any questions or wants some clarity, shoot it in the comments and we'll clarify it in a future game talk.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally, I will look at the comments for the first couple days and respond to stuff, but we will create another game talk off this stuff. It's fun. Of course. Super cool.
Yeah. So, well, Jeff, I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much, and hope you guys enjoy the episode. I will have other future past episodes categories. What's it in YouTube? I'm drawing a blank. The where you can categorize the videos.
Well, and they'll realize when we recorded based on the T-shirts that I wear. Like when you see me wearing the complete NES brand new shirt that I have at HagensAudioBooks.com.
Playlist.
You'll know what playlist we're running in right now.
Drew a blank on that, but anyway, I've only been doing YouTube for 10 years. You'd think I would remember what that freaking means. Anyway, thank you guys for watching.
Well, it's because YouTube changes.
That is true. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys subscribing as always. I appreciate you guys your support. Leaving a comment and let us know what you guys think. Cheers. Game on.